Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy, Pigskin Pete here. Happy Thursday to everybody. Just, what is it, 3 or 4 more days until the big game of the year between the LSU Tigers and, of course, my Clemson Tigers. I have a very, very special guest for you folks tonight. A lot of you know who he is. A lot of you love him. Some of you don't love him, but all of you respect him, or at least you should. A good friend of mine, you all know who he is, Bobby Durkins, also known as Brian Knight.
Glad to be on here with you, man. Glad to be. And I really like what you said there, that some of them don't like him, but they should respect him. So I'll take that. But, man, can you believe we're here, man? I can't believe we're here. We're only, 3 or 4 days away.
Yeah.
This is crazy. The season's come and gone.
I know, and it seems like these national championship games keep getting further and further between the playoff game and the national championship game because, I mean, before we know it, these national championship games are going to be played on Valentine's Day in February or something. I mean, it's been we had 3-week delay between the championship games, the conference championship games, and the playoff, and then we had 16 days or something between the playoff and this championship game. So it's a long wait, but I'm glad it's finally here.
Yeah, I think that probably in the next couple of years we'll see a Valentine's special. Can Dabo kiss Cupid and beat whoever they're playing? I mean, it is getting moved out there not so far. I guess the only thing that you could say is that, of course, our team, I know that LSU, they've had some players who's banged up. Gives them a little time to rehab. Hopefully we'll see the best version of some of the players coming out there and playing this game.
Yeah, I don't really know who it benefits more. Both teams get more time to prepare for the game. Some of Clemson's players that may have been a little bit banged up during the Ohio State game get a chance to heal. I think everybody's going to be pretty much at full strength, for this game. So hopefully there's no excuses on either end, no matter who wins. But so the game's in New Orleans. We know that. Have you ever been to New Orleans?
Never been there.
Me either. My father-in-law says it's his favorite city in the world. He's been there several times. I would have loved to have found a way to get down to New Orleans for this game, but I just splurged on a couple of tickets from myself and my wife to go to South Bend next season in November to the Notre Dame Clemson game. And those tickets, listen, there's no secrets on here. I don't care about saying how much I paid for them. They were over $400 a piece just for the tickets. And then that doesn't count us flying to Chicago probably or into South Bend. I don't know. Probably going to fly into Chicago a couple of days before the game and, tour around Chicago, then either rent a car or something and drive down to South Bend and get a hotel there. So we're talking about, by the time this thing's over, we're talking about a few $1,000 probably. I can't afford to go to New Orleans and spend a few $1,000 in January and then go to Chicago and spend a few $1,000 in November.
No, it would be fun, but no.
Yeah.
I tell you this. I know a few people who are going down to the game, and they're big Clemson fans, and I mean they're believing that we're going to bring this thing home. But I do wish I could be there. I do wish I could be there for the game. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Obviously, never being there, that would be special. But just to see this, because we know that it's going to be the majority of the stadium is going to be LSU because it's a home game basically for them. Even though we travel well, I imagine they're trying to scoop up and hold on to those tickets as tight as they possibly can. But I think it's going to be really, really loud. I think it's going to be one of the best national championships that we've seen in maybe ever.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this game a little bit. I know a lot of people have been wanting me to do that. I've been under the weather for about 5 or 6 days now. I was able to put out one video this week, and that was very hard to do. But I'm finally starting to feel somewhat normal again. But anyway, nobody cares about that. But my point is we're going to get into the matchups. So sticking with the theme of New Orleans, this is being touted as a de facto home game for the LSU Tigers. And I guess you could say it is. Obviously, it's in Louisiana. The vast majority of the roster for LSU are Louisiana natives. And this is the first playoff and national championship appearance for LSU in the playoff era. So I'm assuming that they are going to be super excited. That for Clemson, this is getting to be an expensive venture if you're one of the people that likes to go to all these postseason games, because this is the 5th time in the playoffs, the 4th time in the national championship game, and it gets expensive when you're flying all over the country. I mean, hell, last year it was in California. We just had the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona. I don't really know that many people that can afford to do that year in, year out. So I do expect there to be a massive home crowd there for LSU. But let me ask you this, because I heard something today on the radio that I thought was pretty interesting, and I don't really know how I feel about it either way. I don't think there's a home field advantage necessarily for LSU because we're not playing in Baton Rouge, right? We're not playing at Death Valley, LSU. We're playing in New Orleans. But so it's not not their field, not their stadium. They will have a crowd noise advantage probably, especially on third down situations. The crowd will be louder when Clemson's on offense than when LSU's on offense. But I heard a guy today on the radio say that this could actually be a detriment to LSU playing in Louisiana. And his reasoning is because of all the distractions, family members, friends from high school, all that sort of thing. They're all there in Louisiana, and that could be a distraction to the LSU players. How do you feel either way about that?
I agree with it, and I tell you, kind of the way that I'm viewing it is we see this build up by the media, and I get it. I mean, it's not only a great story. We both have talked about how we like Ed Orgeron. We like the story of Joe Burrow. It's great. It's great, and to see LSU come in, finally get an offense. We've talked about how they've overcorrected, and all of a sudden now their defense they're good. They're not as good as they have been in the past. Some people would even argue with that now, but there's so much emotion behind this game. And one of the things that we started off this season, we watched the Miami versus Florida game, one of the very first football games of this season, and we saw two teams who were so emotional in that game that they played really, really bad. I mean, we saw Florida play a lot better later on in the season, but we talked about it on the show that we've done. We've talked about it on our channel. That emotion a lot of times can create a detriment to a team if you haven't been there and done that. Clemson has. LSU, the last time they were in a national championship was a 21-0 loss in 2011 to Alabama. But you're having to, like you said, there's the family coming in, because normally a game like this would be, in Santa Clara or maybe in Miami, Florida. Not the case here. It's an hour and 25 minutes from Baton Rouge down to New Orleans. And this could be a lot of not only distraction, I also believe that there's going to be an expectation of them. A lot of people are believing this is just the perfect storm for them to win. They're going to win this. I mean, this is a magical season. And, of course, finishing the national championship in New Orleans, they're definitely going to win. I think that could definitely be a distraction, because now you're supposed to win. There's no – it's a massive letdown if LSU loses this game in New Orleans, because the stage is set so perfect that I almost think that maybe the emotions, the distractions, and the expectation could possibly be too much for them because they have not been there in a very long time.
Yeah. Again, I don't really know how I feel either way about it. I've made the statement several times, both here on YouTube and, of course, on Twitter, that I feel like that the experience makes a difference when all things are equal as far as talent on the field. And I got a lot of backlash from LSU fans saying, this doesn't matter. LSU's played in big games all year. They're not going to get stage fright. And I think that maybe it's probably my fault that I didn't communicate my point correctly. I wasn't saying, or I never thought, that LSU is going to be shell-shocked and not be ready to play in the game because the stage is too big for them, or because they haven't played in big games or anything like that. My whole reasoning behind this has nothing to do with when they get on the field. It's the 3 or 4 days, from now until Monday that lead up to that, where experience matters. Clemson has made these road trips in the playoffs, made these road trips to the national championship several times, and they have this whole preparation as far as how they handle the media, how they manage the practices, how they handle the players leading up to the game, so that they are 100% prepared. And believe me, if you go back to the first national championship game that Clemson played in 2015 against Alabama, Do you think that Clemson hasn't made changes in the way they prepare during these travel trips to these games as far as handling the media and everything involved from then till now? Of course they have. So this is something new for LSU in that regard, not the big game aspect, but the media circus and everything that goes along with it as far as preparation.
Yeah, if we could see the preparation that Clemson made during that first national championship appearance in the college football playoff, and we could see it in the next year and the next year and the next year, you would very much see a growth. You would see a lot of the process becoming refined because they had been there and done that. And you're talking about experience. And I've said this multiple times, and it just really ticks off everybody when I say it. Hey, and this is from LSU fans, by the way. LSU fans are saying stuff to me like, their experience doesn't matter. This is our season. We're playing great. LSU's won 6 games against top 10 opponents. We know how to handle this. And I'm like, whoa. I'm not downing your season. I'm not downing your talent. Your talent's incredible. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that when you get into a game like this, and you get into a series like this, and there's a lot of hype, you have a team who hasn't been in the college football playoff, like you said, at all until now, hasn't been in a national championship since 2011. That's when you lost in one of the most boring national championships I've ever watched in my life, 21-0 to Alabama. And you're supposed to win. Clemson knows how to prepare for a game like this. And I know you're talented. I know Burrow is the man. I know all these players are fantastic. Stingley Jr. is ridiculous. But I'm talking about emotion, and we've seen emotion, like I was saying just a second ago, get a hold of a team, and they come out and they're so pumped and they're so fired up and they're so ready to go that they almost wear themselves out in the first quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden it kind of drops off because they've spent so much energy. And you have to have coaches, and what that comes back to, what we're talking about, just kind of reel that in. I know it kind of went out there a little bit, is that the coaches on Clemson's sideline knows what that looks like. So they're telling them, hey guys, stay steady. Don't get too fired up. You can be excited, but don't expend all your energy. Don't be so fired up you're making dumb mistakes. Stay on course. Remember what we do at Clemson, and that's go to the college football playoff and win.
Yeah. So I do believe that there is an experience advantage, whether people want to agree with me or not. I still believe that. That does not mean that Clemson's going to win the game just because they've been there before. I'm not claiming that. And believe me, anything. Not all LSU fans, but a lot of the ones that come on my channel and yours probably as well. Anything short of saying that LSU is the best football team this year that's ever graced the football field is not good enough for them. If you say you think it's going to be a close game and it's going to be a well-fought game and it could come down to the last possession, that all of a sudden means that you're a Clemson homer and you're biased or whatever. And then they'll go on to say, the LSU is going to smash Clemson 60-10 or whatever. And I don't take those people seriously at all. I mean, I don't really know what people have been paying attention to. If they really think that, then they're not college football fans. They're just LSU fans. Because when's the last time Clemson got smashed by anybody, by that kind of deficit? So I think it'll be a close game. But speaking of the two coaches, the two respective coaches in this game, the head coaches, we could talk about the coordinators too, but the main ones, Ed Orgeron and Dabo Swinney. First of all, Ed Orgeron's one of my favorite coaches for obvious reasons. I know he's one of your favorites too. I've seen your videos with him. But I think these guys are very similar in a lot of ways. They're both motivators, and they're both, players, coaches. People throw that term around, players, coaches, but the players love to play for them. And they have a different delivery in the way that they do it, but I think they're very similar in a lot of ways. They also are both very cognizant and smart as far as who they go out, as far as their coordinators, to get. And then once they get the guys that they know are good, they let them do their job. They're not micromanaging everybody. Swinney's been a master at this for years now, and Orgeron's proved that he's doing the same thing. We've seen it with multiple offensive coordinators until he's got the ones that work for him, and obviously just a big jump up from 2 years ago when he got the job till now. They went from one of the worst offenses in the SEC and maybe in the country to all of a sudden the leading scoring offense in the nation going into this game.
The love both those guys have for their teams is absolutely hilarious. I mean, they love their team. When you hear Ed Orgeron talking about the state of Louisiana, it's like something you don't really see anymore. I mean, you really don't see anybody just love where they come from so much that they're happy. I mean, he's a happy dude. I mean, you look at that guy when he's talking about just the state of Louisiana, he's happy. You look at Dabo Swinney, we don't even have to go down that road that much. He loves Clemson. I mean, he really loves Clemson. And to see coaches like them, they'll talk to the media. They don't talk down to the media. They're not treating the media like trash. They're not getting on the podium and acting like some type of boring college professor. They're a man's man, a man's man, but they are a player's coach. And that's why these guys are getting the most out of their players. And I think that's why we want to tune in and watch it. There's so many things that's attractive about this game, but those are two of the main reasons people are going to sit down and watch and see these guys who love their teams and big asterisks there, what you said. They let their coaches do what they're supposed to do. If you're the defensive coordinator, you're the defensive coordinator. If you're the OC, you're the OC. I'm not going to come over here and start going, hey, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? Of course, those guys are going to interject if they feel like something's going downhill. But at the same time, they are letting their guys do their job. And I think that earns even more respect and camaraderie among their team.
Yeah, if you look at some of the great coaches throughout history that have won a lot of titles, and even the ones just in the most recent history, like Urban Meyer with Ohio State. I know he won a couple of championships at Florida, but he's really an Ohio guy, right? I mean, that's really where he belonged. If you look at Mack Brown at North Carolina, I know he won a title at Texas, but he's the perfect fit for North Carolina. Dabo Swinney's the perfect fit for a place like Clemson. Ed Orgeron's the perfect fit for a place like Louisiana, for LSU. So if you find that guy, then you've hit the lottery, really, is what it comes down to. And so both of these teams have hit the lottery with their head coaches, and obviously they have built rosters, NFL-type rosters for the most part. So that will lead us to the next part of our conversation here. The keys to the game, I don't really know. I mean, everybody has their own opinion about what the keys of the game are. I think it really comes down to these two defenses slowing down these two offenses, because if you look across the board, I think at the top three wide receivers for LSU are right even par with the top three wide receivers for Clemson. You're talking about Jefferson, Chase, and Marshall, probably the top three receivers for LSU. Then you've got Ross, Higgins, and Rogers for Clemson. These are all NFL guys. Okay. Then you've got Edwards-Helaire for, the main running back for LSU. And then you've got Travis Etienne. Then, a lot of people, if you're an LSU fan, you might not know a lot about Lynn J. Dixon, the second back for Clemson, but he's a very productive, very good runner. And they have a guy too. I believe his name is Davis Price. So there's a lot of similarities in that. They both have veteran, very, very well-coached offensive lines that are very stingy and protect their quarterbacks really well. So these offenses, and of course that goes without saying, you got Burrow and Lawrence, who I think are the two best quarterbacks in football this year, and it's not even close. You could put Tua in that conversation, and maybe Justin Fields would be maybe the fourth on that when he's healthy. But so these two offenses are so close in talent that I really don't think that you can say one's better than the other. And we can argue stats till the cows come home. But the bottom line is these are as elite as offenses as far as talent and scheme and coaching that you're going to find anywhere in the country. So, I mean, do you have any thoughts on the comparison between the offenses?
Yeah, it's really interesting because if you're a Clemson fan, you've heard this rhetoric not only in this national championship and this playoff, we've heard it in past playoffs and national championships. I mean, you got to think the year that we won the national championship with Deshaun Watson, we had the number one schedule in the country.
Yeah.
and we were still the underdog. So it really doesn't matter who the heck we play. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're going to be the underdog. So in this underdog kind of mindset, like you said earlier, we have a lot of LSU. We've got some good LSU fans. I know we both have some good LSU fans who are sensible. They're pulling for the team, and they're having some fun. And then, of course, the crazies we've talked about as well. But they, along with certain members of the media and sports writers, they're just believing that LSU is just going to blow the doors off of Clemson. And I'm sitting there going, so did I miss something? Is Clemson's offense not getting off the bus? Because if Clemson's offense is getting off the bus, that means now both defenses has a problem. And I believe what we're going to see is two teams who are going to absolutely go after the opposing defense they're facing. And I've heard great things about LSU's defense. I've watched them. I've watched them give up a lot of points. I have watched some of their players do some great things. Of course, Stingley Jr., I mean, he's one of the leading guys with interceptions in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, he's incredible. I'm not taking away from that. But these offenses, it's not just the LSU and Joe Burrow show. These are two of the premier offenses in the country who will be going after each other. And it's really, can the defense stop them?
Yeah. And I won't take anything away from the cornerbacks for LSU. You've got Fulton, you've got Stingley Jr. Stingley Jr. is a freshman, by the way. He might be the best freshman defensive player in the country. Of course, I think Delpit, who's going to be a first-round pick as well. So, I mean, listen, they've got he's a safety, but they've got elite backfield on the defense. But I don't really know what people have been watching for the past few years with Clemson. I mean, A.J. Terrell, Kayvon Wallace. I know Darian Kendrick this is his first year playing corner. He was a 5-star wide receiver. For any of you guys out there that don't know, Darian Kendrick was a 5-star wide receiver recruited to Clemson, played one season as a receiver, and then he switched to defensive back this year. And he's still not, polished, but he's actually played way above the standard that I thought he would play at. Now, I think that the elephant in the room that everybody knows, if you're a Clemson fan, if you're an LSU fan who's been doing any sort of study on these matchups, is I love Tanner Muse. I'm a Tanner Muse fan. He might have saved the game in Ohio State by running down Dobbins on that long run and giving him that shoestring tackle. But he's the guy that all of the offensive coordinators go after. Virginia went after him and got some big plays, when he was in coverage. Ohio State did the same thing. And I certainly expect LSU to try to expose him in pass coverage as well. Now, the thing is, Nolan Turner, he's the better of the two as far as coverage, as far as the safeties go. But Muse, you can't overlook his speed and his run-stopping ability and his tackling ability. So and they use him to spy the quarterback, which I fully expect them to use Muse a lot to spy Joe Burrow, because there's a lot of similarities between Lawrence and Burrow other than, their passing or two elite passers. We know that, but they're also both extremely dangerous at extending plays or even design quarterback runs. So what we saw with Muse against Ohio State was that he was used to spy a lot and keep Justin Fields contained, from making big runs. And he did pretty well at doing that. So I don't know. I think that Burrow is going to get his, especially if he picks on Muse, but Muse is going to get his too. He may end up with some sacks in this game. He may end up forcing a turnover or two. I don't know. Obviously, every Clemson fan out there knows, and what I believe to be the X factor in this game is Isaiah Simmons. I believe that Isaiah Simmons is the best defensive player in the country, better than Chase Young, and for a lot of reasons, because he plays multiple positions and he's not a one-trick pony. Chase Young's great, all right? He's a big edge rusher, and he's hard to stop. Clemson did a pretty good job of stopping him, though. But Isaiah Simmons you don't know where he's going to show up on the field. He can play defensive end, he can play linebacker, he can play safety, and he is dangerous at all of those things. So Isaiah Simmons can really cause a lot of problems for LSU's defense, and I think if Clemson comes out on top in this game, I think that Simmons will have something to do with that.
Well, I agree with you 100%. This week, of course, shameless plug here. I did a video, of course, my alter ego, Bobby Durkins, and I did a how Clemson will stop Joe Burrow. And, of course, I said we would not completely stop him. I mean, it was basically more control him. But Isaiah Simmons was my second reason why we would basically control him enough to win the game, because of what you said. You can put him anywhere. Where was Isaiah Simmons when he picked off the first pass against Justin Fields? He was lined up at safety, 35 yards across the field. Mm-hmm. That's where he was lined up. And he spied, he came across, he picked off the ball. And then normally if you get a linebacker on a running back, that's actually what you want. You want the mismatch. Well, if you put him on a running back coming out of the backfield on a pass, he's happy. I mean, go ahead and throw it. He'll pick it off and take it the other way. He is the X factor in this game on the defensive side of the ball. I think if he has a great night, we definitely win the ball game, because I think he will go down as one of the greatest Clemson football players to ever walk through the doors, because he's just that guy. He's that amazing. He's that dynamic. He can extend his body to knock the ball down. He has this extra gear. He'll hit when you think, oh, the running back's about to turn the corner. Bam, he gets knocked down. Who did it? It's Isaiah Simmons. They have played LSU has played a lot of great talent, Pete. They've played some really good talent. I'm not going to take away from that. We can look at the stats. It is what it is. But they have still not played against Isaiah Simmons.
No, I mean, there's no doubt about it that LSU hasn't played anybody close to the talent they're going to see on Monday. I can say that Clemson has played at least one game where they played close talent to LSU, and that was Ohio State. There's a lot of argument back and forth between LSU and Ohio State fans about who has the better defensive backs, who has the better this, who has the better that. I mean, listen, you're talking about splitting hairs here. I will say, you got to give LSU credit for beating Alabama in Alabama. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely the best win in the regular season by any team, I would imagine. Can you think of one better? I probably can't. Now, Tua wasn't completely healthy in that game, but that's not an excuse. They went on the road in Tuscaloosa, beat them. But let's not pretend like they blew Alabama out. That was a 6-point game that came down to the very end. Now, they won the game. That's all that matters. But I think that Clemson's better than Alabama this year from top to bottom. Maybe not by a wide margin. So that's the reason that I don't take even the Clemson fans that think that Clemson's going to blow LSU out. I don't take any of these people seriously. I think this is going to come down to, the spread in Vegas is like 5.5 or 6 points, depending on which book you're looking at. I think it could be less than that. I think it could be a final possession game, similar to what we saw with Ohio State and Clemson, 6 points or less. And, a fumble or an interception here or there could be the deciding factor in this game. I think it's going to be probably one for the ages. At least on paper it is. And I'd love to see a blowout, in Clemson's favor, but I'm not delusional enough to think that's going to happen.
No, and I'll tell you this on the defensive side of the ball, and I hope I'm not running into one of your points you're about to bring up. Are you about to bring up defense?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't jumping ahead of you there.
No, listen, you can do whatever you want.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at LSU schedule right now. It's very impressive wins. The teams they played, very, very impressive. I'm not going to take away from that. Burrows, I know it's Burrow, but I always say Burrows just to piss off LSU fans. Burrow. His season was incredible, a lot of incredible season. So I've given a lot of praise to LSU. So if anybody says that I haven't, you're just trying to be a douche.
Well, no, so, if you say you think Clemson's going to win, then that's an automatic slap in the face to LSU apparently.
Yeah, it's automatic. But okay, so we know, especially a lot of our viewers are most likely Clemson fans or people who know a lot about Clemson. So everybody mostly knows, obviously, about that horrible game we had up in Chapel Hill. We only won by 1 point, and that's what the media, everybody hung their whole argument on. Clemson is not near as good as they were last year, and yada, yada, yada. But I'm actually going to be a little more negative about LSU, and I'm going to talk about this because I think this is important. So I'm looking down their schedule, and so when you played Texas, they were number 9. Where did Texas finish?
Unranked.
Did they even finish in the top 25?
No, Texas is no good.
Yeah. That was your second game of the year. You gave up 38 points and won by 7. You played against Vanderbilt, the nerds of the SEC. You gave up 38 points to them. Well, Brian, we scored 66. You still gave up 38. You played against Florida. That was a heck of a game. And the difference that came down in that game, and I watched it, was LSU could run the ball better than Florida. And that's one of the biggest games that Trask had been in up until that point. They lost by 14 points, 42-28 on a Saturday night in Baton Rouge. So Florida is showing that they have talent there, but they're also showing us that you can go run toe-to-toe with them with the talent that Florida has and the development that they have at this point, and it's not even close to Clemson. They scored 28 points.
Let me cut
Let's
you
move
off.
on down to
Let me interrupt real quick. This is the same Florida team, by the way, that almost lost to Miami week 1. Miami actually had that game won. Miami is awful. This is the same Florida team that it took everything they could do to beat Virginia in the Orange Bowl. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, and you've also got to remember they lost to Georgia. They lost to Georgia in that big rivalry. Next game, look, this is one that's a head scratcher for you, and I've heard a lot of people take up for Auburn here, and I know Auburn did a great thing by knocking out Alabama, and we were all kind of celebrating and laughing and so on. So there is talent on Auburn's team. I'm not taking away from that, but this game was in Baton Rouge, and you only won by 3 points.
Yeah.
At home against an Auburn team that if you were just so amazing, I mean, you're so elite, you're just so far ahead of Clemson and everybody else, you'd have blown that team out by 28 points. And then you've got the Bama game. You won 46-41 against Tua, who was basically in a wheelchair. That was a week before he got hurt. Then the next week, you've got Mississippi, Ole Miss. You gave up 37 points. Now, next 2 games, you blew out Arkansas, and then you did blow out Texas A&M.
Right.
But my point in going through that entire deal is this. I know what you did to Oklahoma, but Trevor Lawrence is way – it's not even in the conversation.
Well, the whole team.
Because people are overlooking it, obviously, go ahead.
No, I was going to say
Say what?
Not just Trevor Lawrence, the whole team compared to Oklahoma's team. It's not even close. Yeah.
Yeah, but we could. But while people are, for some reason, I guess they're selectively forgetting who's playing in this game. Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a great athlete. I don't think he's a quarterback. I think he can go play a different position, make a lot of money in the NFL. Good for him. They are light years apart in passing. So that's who you're going to have to play. That's who you're playing Monday night. You're not playing some guy who can barely throw the football. You're not playing a team who barely has a defense. This game, for anybody who believes this is going to be a blowout in favor of LSU, and, what happened if y'all come out flat like you did against Ohio State? I'm going to stop there and say this. That Ohio State team did not play as tough a schedule as LSU did, but I will promise you this. That Ohio State offense was ridiculous all season long, even when they played really good talent.
Yeah.
And now because we beat them, all of a sudden they're not that good. No, I would be stepping back going, if they can beat them and they were that great, there's no difference with us. I know Joe's had a great season. Great for Joe. I'm telling you, Clemson is used to this. And this goes back to one of the opening points you made, Peete, talking about the experience. This is where the experience of coaching staff comes in. And this is one last thing, and I'll stop my rant. If experience doesn't matter to you or to anybody who's listening, try using that the next time you hire a mechanic or a plumber and see how it works out for you.
Well, all the points that you just made, I've made several times here on this channel, but there's always an excuse. Fan is short for fanatic, so these fanatics come on here and tell me they'll have an excuse for giving up 38 to Vandy. They'll have an excuse for giving up 37 to Ole Miss. They'll have an excuse for letting Arkansas score 20 on them. And then, of course, the rebuttal to that is, well, you play a weak schedule. You don't know what it's like to have to play these good teams week in, week out, and you only beat North Carolina by 1 point. My argument to that is, and here's one of their main arguments, as far as giving up all those points defensively to a lot of those teams that aren't good, as they say, oh, well, we had big leads in those games, so we took out our starters, in the third quarter, fourth quarter, or whatever, and we also had some injuries. Well, this is why I know when there's a college football fan and just an LSU fan, because if they've been paying attention, Clemson's been doing the same thing all year. We've been getting big leads on inferior teams and taking out our starters and putting in our second and third string, but we weren't giving up 38 points to them, even with our second and third string. The only team that scored more than 21 points or more than 20 points on us all year is Ohio State. And before that, it was North Carolina. So, there's always an excuse. I will give LSU credit for this, though. I do believe that their injuries probably to a couple of key players on defense had something to do with it. I'm sure it did. And so they're healthy now, and they've been playing a lot better these past, whatever it is, 4 or 5 games, without a doubt. But guess what? Clemson's playing 10 times better than they were when they faced off against North Carolina. And they completely, outside of North Carolina, completely obliterated everybody that they faced off against. And they'll say, well, not Texas A&M, 24-10. That's not an obliteration. They didn't watch the game. It was a complete domination. It was 24-3 with 10 seconds left in the game. And Jimbo Fisher, that low-class used car salesman, left his limping quarterback and all of his limping first-string players in there on the goal line to score a trash touchdown against Clemson's third string, just so he didn't get shut out. He didn't want to get out of that game without scoring a touchdown. So that's how that happened. But at the end of the day, the schedules don't matter. How many points this team scored or all the transient property. Well, we also played Texas A&M. We blew them out. You only beat them by 14 points. None of that matters come kickoff time in New Orleans on Monday night, because it's going to be a dogfight between 2 elite teams, 2 elite coaching staffs. And I believe the best team is going to win. I do believe that if LSU wins, there'll be some Clemson fans out there probably blaming this call or that call or whatever. I won't be one of them, but I can guarantee you this. I've been doing this on YouTube for 2 years. I've been through a lot of these big games as a fan and as a content creator. And every single time Clemson beats one of these top 5, top 10 teams, they come crying and flooding into the comment section and all over social media, blaming something. It's either somebody was paid, or the refs did this, or if our guy twisted his finger, or so and so had a toe fungus and his girlfriend broke up with him right before the game. There's always an excuse, but at the end of the day, I believe the best team will win, and we'll see who that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you this, man. One thing to watch for in this game is Travis Etienne, because if the quarterbacks, and we know they are as good for LSU as we think they are, it's going to be a battle out there for our wide receivers, 100%. It's definitely going to be a battle for us. But what did we see out of this game with Ohio State? We saw 3 receptions for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. His ability to catch the ball and how he's grown in that area of his game, obviously lifting his draft stock, and how the pros view him, but also how he's been productive with the team. I'm telling you, don't be surprised if Etienne catches some balls like he did the other night, coming out of the backfield, maybe circling back around the line, and a quick dump off with that power and that speed, while those powerful quarterbacks are out there just going crazy, fighting with our powerful wide receivers. Don't be surprised if he sneaks around the corner and catches the ball, and he burns the defense 2 or 3 times in the game, and it might even alleviate some of the pressure that's on our wide receivers and maybe even opens up something. I expect Travis Etienne to have a big game of sorts. I don't know if it'll be on the ground or if it'll be in the air. I lean more towards it's going to be in the air. I believe he's going to catch the ball a lot better in this game. And because he's just, man, that ability he has grown in this year has really created a lot of great things for Clemson. We saw it against Ohio State.
Yeah, listen, it's not an accident the way that the type of player that Clemson recruits. There's a reason that Clemson matches up well against a lot of these SEC teams. is because, these SEC defenses, especially the front seven, the defensive line and the linebackers, these are big physical guys that are very, very good at their job. But Clemson does the versatile thing to circumvent that. We saw it against Ohio State. I know Ohio State's not an SEC team, but it's, same difference. They're built the same way. Is what happened when Travis Etienne was having a problem running between the tackles. They were stuffing the middle, and they were stopping him. What did they do? They put him out on the perimeter, get him the ball in space, and he burns you. So this is something that Clemson has that some other teams in the SEC don't have. And the same thing goes for the defensive side of the ball. You have these big, stout linebackers and defensive ends for LSU. And what does Clemson do? They have all these hybrid players all over the defense. Simmons is a hybrid player. Muse is a hybrid player. Muse could really be a linebacker. He might even be drafted as a linebacker if he gets drafted in the NFL because he's huge. He's way too big to be a safety. And so they recruit speed and versatility, guys that can play multiple positions. And that's the reason that I think, that along with the coaching and development of the players is the reason that Clemson is so successful against some of these other elite teams that some of these teams may even have more talent on paper, but they get outplayed because of scheme and speed.
Yeah. Well, I've argued this in the preseason. I've argued this all season long, that one of the most important factors that always gets left out is the experience and the tenure of a coaching staff, how long they've been together. The majority of this coaching staff has been together, some of them even since Sweeney took over as an interim. They've been there that long. And I'm telling you, that builds a lot of camaraderie. That also builds a lot of kind of an instant reaction. Oh, so things are not going well in this part of the game. We know how to react as a unit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The guys, the communication skill, the response of what's going on. A lot of people think, that really doesn't matter. No, it does matter. And that's one of the reasons it's very difficult for teams to repeat once they've won a national championship. And the two main reasons is this. If a team wins a national championship, what do other schools do? They come in and they flash a lot of money in front of these coaches and say, hey, you know what a championship looks and feels like and how you win one and everything like that. We want you at our school because we believe that you could be the piece of the puzzle that we've always been missing. And a lot of these coaches leave, and I get it. On the other hand, you also see these players that either first graduate because their eligibility is gone, or they've had such a great season and they can declare for the NFL. So I'm done. I've won my championship. I can go make millions in the NFL, and they declare and they're gone. So I get why it's very difficult for people, for teams to repeat. The really important thing that I focus on here is Clemson's coaching staff has been together forever. Even the guy, Jeff Scott, taking over down at South Florida, he's coaching in this game. He's coaching in the playoff.
Yeah.
He's just as involved as he's ever been. So he stayed on. And then there are players like Isaiah Simmons could have declared last year. He didn't. He stayed. There's a lot of experience on this team, even though we have 80 sophomore and freshmen playing on this team. There's some key figures out there, and the youth on this team has experience. If they're a sophomore, this is their second consecutive college football playoff. So this is a big deal. The experience really does matter.
Oh, of course it does. Anybody who thinks that the continuity and the coaching staff hasn't been a huge advantage for Clemson is living in a dream world. I mean, just ask Alabama. We see them losing these coordinators year after year, and that, believe me, they still play at a high level, but that's something you have to overcome. I mean, it just is. And this offense for Clemson is the same offense that drug both Notre Dame and Alabama up the field last year. The only difference is Renfro's not there, but all the other players are still there, and they're more experienced and they're better. This offense is better than it was last year. The defense is different, but definitely not worse off. It's just different. The strength is on the back end instead of on the defensive line. But, I give all the respect to LSU. I would not be surprised if LSU won, but if somebody puts a gun to my head, if I take off my Clemson hat and my sunglasses, which ain't going to happen for all you sunglass haters out there, if I did that and somebody put a gun to my head and said, you got to put every dollar you own, your mortgage, your car note, everything on one of these teams to win outright, not against the spread, I'm picking the team that has the pedigree and that has been there before. That's just all there is to it. I mean, that doesn't mean they're going to win, but chances are, if all things are equal, I'm taking the team that's been there and done that and has proven that they can do it year after year after year.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, man, the way that Sweeney, I mean, even right down to Sweeney, conducts himself, the way that he has his players conduct themselves, and how he conducts himself in just these interviews, you can see the change, you can see the experience, and I know I keep talking about this. I have people who's sick and tired of hearing about it, but the experience definitely matters. But kind of switching off that, I'll ask you this. I'm on your show, so I'll ask you this. Who is one player you believe we need to see show up on the Clemson side, whether it's offense, defense? You can give me a player from both sides that you believe really needs to show up. Now, obviously, take Trevor out of it. We know Trevor's going to show up. We know Isaiah Simmons is going to show up. Is there somebody you see that needs to really show up in this game that could really be the difference?
Yes, I think I'll give you one from each side of the ball. On offense, it needs to be Amari Rodgers. Now, the main reason for that is, again, if you take ETN and Lawrence, we know they're going to get theirs. We also know that Higgins and Ross are going to get a lot of attention on the outside. He's the X factor in this. He only had, I think, one catch against Ohio State. Now, it was a huge catch at a very critical time of the game on that last scoring drive that they had. But I think that Amari Rodgers is the guy that needs to step up and have a big game. He may even have to step up in the punt or kick return game. I don't know if they're going to use ETN in the kicking game like they have been or not. I'm assuming they probably will. But so Amari Rodgers is my dark horse key figure on offense, and on defense, it's going to be the guy that made the game-winning interception, and that's Nolan Turner, because I just don't have enough faith in Tanner Muse in coverage as a safety. I know he'll do great things in other aspects of the game, but I think that Nolan Turner is going to have to step up as the cover guy when he's in at safety and hopefully get a turnover or two or something. So that's my two.
Well, I like both of them. I think that especially with Turner, and on my message boards I'm saying this, you don't believe that little guy is going to cover Randy Moss's son. And I'm sitting there going, I mean, you're acting like we've never seen an SEC team before. You're acting like we've never beaten them before. This guy right here, I don't care how small he is. How small was Hunter Renfrow? I mean, you and I are about the same height, but barely 5'9". They say Hunter Renfrow was 5'10". They were lying. He's not. I mean, he's probably 5'9" on his tiptoes. But ask Alabama how difficult it was to cover him.
Well, listen,
he was incredible player.
Who you can flip it the other way. So if they have two elite corners on LSU's defense that can somehow bottle up Higgins and Ross, which isn't going to happen, by the way. They're going to get theirs. But if they did, who's going to cover Rodgers? So it goes both ways. Yeah. Rodgers is a mismatch for any safety or linebacker on their team. He is.
And he's faster after that injury.
Yeah. He's
100% faster than what he was before. I'll throw out my two dark horses. I do agree with yours 100%. I'll switch to somebody else just to be a little different, but I totally agree with yours. You actually took mine, but I'll take this guy. He would be the next one. He's one that hasn't been on the field until last week. He's an incredible athlete, playing with a chip on his shoulder. We know the whole thing that went on last year with the PED. He still claims he's innocent. I know everybody's going to start laughing on that one, go really crazy on the board when they hear that part.
Yeah.
But this guy is a ridiculous athlete, started playing more last week. I would not be surprised to see him make, and I didn't say burn up the game and have 7 receptions for 120 yards. I'm saying make some catches because people are focusing on the other three, and they're focusing on ETN. And will Trevor Lawrence take off? I'll be surprised if he slips out and makes some important catches. That's Braden Galloway.
Oh, sure.
I would not be surprised to see him slip out, catch the ball. He's a 6'6". He's fast. He can catch the ball, turn upfield. That'll be interesting. On the defensive side of the ball, I want to see Xavier Thomas show up. I want to see this guy do what he was doing last year. I want to see him come out of that. I say sophomore slump to a point, but the guy, I mean, you can't take away that the guy's on the field. People have to respect that he's out there. But I would really like to see him be a maniac in this game, nail Burrow a couple of times, hit Edwards-Helaire as hard as he possibly can, and remind them, hey guys, I'm the real deal. I believe that if he shows up in a big way, don't be surprised if it creates kind of a storm that people are like, whoa, what just happened? You know, we're focusing on Simmons, we're focusing on Terrell, you know.
I'm telling you what, man. I know he's dealt with some injuries this year, and I think that has a lot to do with it. But I'm a huge Xavier Thomas fan. I think that he physically is as gifted as any defensive end in the country. But he has been pretty much non-existent in the latter part of the season, pretty much. So I agree with you. He really needs to step up, and I hope he does. I hope he's okay. He dealt with a pretty serious concussion. He hasn't been the same since, and I hope he's okay. I don't really know anything about that as far as how that affected him or continues to affect him. But he's a guy that really should be producing more than he is, and I hope I just hope he's okay. That's all I can say about him.
Yeah, and it would be big if he come alive in this game. I mean, it would, and I think it would be good for him. Yeah. And all the injuries he's battled, and this entire season, not being as freakish as he was in the season before, and some of the great plays he made. So it's going to be a great game, Pete. This is great. The championship, it's here, man. It is here.
So either way, history is going to be made. If Clemson wins this game, that'll be 3 out of the last 4 national championships, and that hasn't been done. I think there's only 2 other teams that have ever done that. I know Notre Dame did it at one point. Well, first of all, it'll be the first time it's been done in the playoff era. We know that. Notre Dame did it once, and then there was another team. I can't remember who it is. Somebody will probably comment after this video is posted. But and if LSU wins, it'll be a historic season for them. Coming from where they came from a couple of years ago, looking like there was no hope for the offense in sight. Joe Burrow comes in. They go snatch Joe Brady from the New Orleans Saints, and all of a sudden they go on this magical run. It would be a historic year for LSU as well if they won. So either way, no matter how this ends, it's going to be a exclamation point to another amazing college football season. I'm a little bit depressed that the season's ending, and it sucks that we have to wait another 8 months for a live football game. But that's the life of a college football fan. We signed up for it. And I guess now we have to resort to watching other sports that we really could care less about.
Yeah, lacrosse season. I don't know, polo, water polo. I'm
going to be watching a lot
all
of
the boring games.
I watch a lot of golf during the summer. I'm a nerd, so.
But I could see you wearing the pants. I
don't do the plaid pants. I don't do the plaid pants.
You don't do the plaid?
No, not plaid. No,
you're a smart man, my friend.
Come on. The plaid clashes with my sunglasses.
I could see it. It'd be too loud. And
Anyway. All right, Bobby, listen, thank you for taking the time to come on the show. I thought it was a great conversation. Anybody in the comment section, please leave your thoughts on this conversation. I know some of you will leave some very, very stupid comments, and those are welcome as well. If you're an LSU fan, let us know, did we do your team justice? Probably not in your eyes. If you're a Clemson fan, also let us know. What do you think the keys of the game are? And of course, and most importantly, what do you think the outcome will be? And we'll see who is right at the end of the game. Bobby, you are the man, sir. Thank you so much for coming on.
Dude, thanks for having me on. It's always fun doing these shows with you. And we complete our first season. Well, we have one more, especially after the game, win or lose. But we've basically completed the season doing a show together, man. And this has been awesome. It's been awesome. You're good people. You're incredible to work with, and you're even better friends. So.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll have to maybe get together, following the game next week at some point. Maybe we can do a recap, no matter what happens.
Yeah, no matter what happens, though, we know what's going to happen. Our team's going to win.
All right. Well, Pigskin Pete and Bobby Durkins are checking out. See you guys very soon.